Will we finally get a glimpse of life for the Lakers without LeBron? Welcome in or welcome back. Super excited today for this episode. I've had it on my calendar for a very long time. Today, we have a big time NBA 2K critic, over 1,000 subs on YouTube. Knew that Jalen Williams was going to be a star before anybody else did. Resident Laker fan, and hopefully with this upcoming season, making his return to YouTube. Everybody, welcome to the channel, TrillBuckets.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. That might have been the best intro I've ever had from any collab I've done, bro. Like, you really went to do research. You really, hey, subscribe just for that, bro.
As I said before in our Instagram DMs, I run a professional show here, so I have to bring the energy.
I love it. Love it. I'm ready to rock if you ready to roll.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we jump into the season preview, though, I kind of want to give you the chance to let everybody on my audience, someone who may be just scrolling past this video, let them know who you are as the Lakers fan. So how did we get here to this point of Laker fandom?
Well, to start, I'm a California kid. I'm from San Diego, born, sort of raised. Can't say completely because I'm a military kid, but out of all the years of my life, I've lived in San Diego the longest and was born there. It was Clippers or Lakers. And me being a 90s baby, you guys know it was not going to be Clippers. But with that said, I've always had a very, very strong connection just with my city, where I'm from and things like that. I say that because y'all see the bedspread. I'm a Cowboys fan. So, you know, I'm not resident LA for everything. But as it relates to the Lakers, you know, young, very, very young as a kid, Kobe came out prominence. I was born. He's pretty much immediately in the finals 3 years straight. Of course, I only remember like the second and third one, but second and third in that three-peat. But even still, that was enough for me to really just, it encapsulated me as a Lakers fan. The vibe, the buzz around Southern California, it was everything. The Lakers could do no wrong. And, you know, just growing up, that was everything to me. And I was always one of those hard-nosed, grit type of kids growing up when it came to playing basketball because I was the smallest, always had to, you know, play bigger than what I was. And Kobe was that guy that was motivation for me. So he's largely to do with my Laker fandom. But to this point now, it's just been Lakers or die.
What do you think it is about the Lakers that draws so many people in, especially in the Southern California area?
I'm glad you said specifically in the Southern California area because, of course, there's a lot of fans that aren't from there. There's a lot of fans that come based on players and things of that nature. But as it stands, mostly in the Southern California area, pretty much everyone you come across is a Lakers fan more often than not. If they're a Clippers fan, it's usually someone that's been in San Diego from the early Clipper days when they played back in Sports Arena, or that's what it used to be called. I don't know what it's called now, or they're people that didn't like Kobe because that happens as well. But other than that, like, that's one of those cities and areas where Lakers are everything. It's a Laker town. Now, of course, as of lately, the Dodgers have brought on some heat, made it that much better. But even still, Southern California is Lakers Nation. There's no other team that comes close. It could have been the Chargers, but once they moved, they kind of lost a little bit of their moxie, so to speak, with San Diego because San Diegans did not like that. So yeah, just in SoCal as a whole, the Lakers are everything. You're not going to find people that hate the Lakers too much. And more often than not, as I've gotten older, they stopped hating the Lakers once Kobe left. I've met so many more Lakers fans, or outward Laker fans rather, once Kobe was gone, or even once LeBron came, and most specifically in that Southern California area.
I think it's really interesting as an outside fan looking at the Lakers, especially in the last 25-ish years. Obviously, it was Kobe everything. When Bron showed up in 2018, even though he had just come off of a really impressive finals run, there was still this like stigma about him. It's like, oh, well, he'll never be Kobe. He can't touch Kobe.
Yeah.
And then I feel like once that after Kobe's passing, obviously, but then once he won the championship, everyone's kind of like, okay, he's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it anymore.
The funniest part about it is it took one ring. Didn't took a ring and an appearance. It just took, hey, we need you to show us you could win here. We know what you've done everywhere else, but to that point, as Lakers Nation, you know, I grew up only mostly watching Western Conference basketball because if the Lakers aren't on, you got Sacramento. If Sacramento's not on, you got Golden State. If Golden State's not on, you got Portland or Phoenix. So you're not really watching Eastern Conference ball. So while we understood Bron's greatness, and this is more so speaking from a casual perspective, it was also a case of a lot of people from there didn't just watch Bron unless it was, playoffs, big games, things like that. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, we know what you could do, but we need to see that here. We're a winning organization, and we were coming off some nasty years. So it was really a case of don't come here and, do your legit thing, and we just come up of nothing of it. But that bubble ring is everything. It made me appreciate Bron even more because growing up, I boy, couldn't stand him.
I think it was very much the camps, especially for people that are closer to our age. You were either a Bron guy or you were a Kobe guy, and it's taken a lot of postmortem, like posthumous stuff to kind of change the view of that. I'm glad that I've spent the last like 8 years in particular appreciating LeBron rather than hating him because I'm a Celtics fan, and he was busting our ass. I couldn't stand that, man. And it hurt to watch him beat us up every single year. But at a certain point, I went, this is obviously one of the greatest players, inarguably a top 3 player of all time in everybody's book. I can't sit here and hate him his whole career because I'll miss it. It'll be gone in an instant.
100%. And I love that you said it that way because he's the one guy that hasn't been gone in an instant. We were lucky enough with Bron to be able to have that change of heart, which is everything because, like you said, in our age group, it was largely Bron or Kobe. Met a couple weirdos that was Melo, Team Melo, but that's neither here
nor there. Trying to be different.
Those are just contrarians. Like you would get one out of a group of 5 or 6, but shoot, I had to sit down with myself and I was like, if I love basketball, I cannot continue to dislike this dude, especially as I got older and I wasn't playing anymore. Because when you're playing as a kid or when you're younger, you tend to have a little bit more emotion towards certain players because you look up towards those players and, their opposition and stuff like that. So that went with my LeBron hate a lot of the time because it was like, sure, Kobe did what he did, but even still, when he saw him head to head, it still wasn't by and far. Kobe's this, Bron's not quite there. It was always Bron's on the same tier as this guy, and I don't like it. But like you said, I'm glad I spent the better part of this last decade or so really enjoying him. When he went back to Cleveland, one of his biggest fans. That was one of the best Brons I've ever seen in my life, like in person too. So great human. Great basketball player. Love everything about him. Now, if you asked me that 15 years ago, I don't know what I'm telling you.
I can tell by the way that you speak about the game that you are very much ingrained in the culture and you have been a fan of this game for a very long time. Before we transition into the season preview, is there a particular player or era in Lakers history that you're the most fond of? I think Kobe's the easiest answer, so I'm going to take that off the board. Excluding Kobe, is there an era or a player that you're most fond of?
I know you said excluding Kobe, but I'm going to include him real quick. But here's the thing though. It's not one of the winning seasons and times. It's actually that 05 to 08 Kobe era. He was doing some things that were unheard of. If I'm not mistaken, I would have to go back and fact check this and everything. But in January, he averaged like 35. In February, he averaged like damn near 40. And he was carrying that team literally to the playoffs. So I know I'm going against the rules, but I had to mention that. And I thought it was fair because he wasn't winning. But other than that time, honestly, and this might sound crazy because I'm in my older 20s. I don't know the actual years themselves, but it was essentially like Magic's first 6 years. My dad's a historian, so he would always force me to watch those older games, whether it was Jordan, whether it was Peyton, whether it was whoever it was. And he hated the Lakers, but he knew I loved the Lakers. And that was an era where he was like, you know what? If you want to learn basketball the way you tell me you want to learn basketball, this is where you watch. Because past the Showtime part of it, when you watch their full games, they were really walking teams down. They were playing from beginning whistle to the very end like it was their last basketball game. And that's what made it easy for them to be Showtime Lakers and have the fun that they had. Growing up playing basketball, anytime I've been on teams where we're beating teams by 25, 30, 40 plus or whatever, that's when we're having the most fun. That's when we could pull out our bag. That's when we could, do this flashy pass, whatever the case was. And I think that goes under the radar as it relates to the Showtime Lakers. People don't think about the part of, no, they were just a good basketball team, and then they were able to be Showtime. And that's why that's one of the eras for the Lakers that largely sticks out for me.
From studying our past to looking into our future, the Lakers are in a very good spot, albeit a very weird spot. They very clearly have their guy of the future in Luka Doncic, but there's this relic of the past, and it seems weird to say that because LeBron, despite every bit of logic that tells me he's not going to be a top 15 player, he probably will be again this year. He just takes so much of the cap space up on this team. Have you soured on LeBron at all because of that? Because he did this whole song and dance this offseason? Or do you think that this whole LeBron's last dance is being blown out of proportion?
I wouldn't necessarily use sour as the adjective to describe where I'm at. Because how can you be sour when a guy brought you a chip? You know what I'm saying? This comes from one of the most spoiled fans ever. I witnessed 5 rings, aside from bronze, which makes it 6. I witnessed 5 rings in my lifetime, and him, just that one ring is enough for me to say I can't be sour on him. Now, I was close before the ring. Now, I will say this. I have been ready for him to be gone for probably the last 2 years or so now. Now, I will say that feeling's only amplified now with the addition of Luka and Ayton. And we're going to touch on Ayton, so I'll get there. But, Luka and Ayton are on the same timeline. So for me, it got to a point of, okay, well, we know who we have for our future. We have a guy that can potentially be the second option. We have to find out this year. This is kind of a year where we're going to see what he can do, if he can live up to just a fraction of the potential he had coming into the league. And no matter what level of greatness LeBron has, etc., his gravity is always going to take majority of the team. And that's largely why I've been ready for him to be gone. Getting back to the question primarily, though, and answering that, me being ready for him to be gone lies in the fact that any team, any GM, any coach, anybody in that organization, they're going to bend to LeBron's will. And I don't even want to bring it. I know I said GM earlier. I'm not even mentioning that part of it. It's just who LeBron is. When he walks in the room, I'm sure there's people that are tense. I'm sure there's people that are on notice, and they have to be on their P's and Q's. And that same thing, it's kind of like when you're at work and your manager's in the office when they're normally not in the office. Everyone's doing everything they can to look busy, and that goes for the GMs. It seems like Pelinka does moves because he's like, I don't know how LeBron's feeling. Maybe I could talk to him, but we hear reports of this coming out, whatever. Let's make a trade. And this, I'm not even talking about the Luka trade, just some of the other trades that have been made throughout Bron's era. Once it's at a point where he's gone, we can look towards the future. To pretty much end the answer off, I've been wanting to be a fan of one of those teams like a Minnesota Grizzlies, not Minnesota Timberwolves, Memphis Grizzlies, OKC. They have young, promising guys that developed. You watch them become players that are stars in this league now, and you can cheer for them from now until decade's end. Of course, we have that with Luka now, but because we have that with Luka, to me, it's about that time. And I did see a report that said the only reason he came back was because it was clear the Lakers weren't extending him. So I think this is probably his last year.
Again, speaking from an outside perspective as a non-Lakers fan, it seemed like last year was a very clear line in the sand from Rob Pelinka to LeBron going, hey, I'm done playing this GM game with you. Because I think if it were up to me, if I were to be looking at it, I don't think LeBron would have signed off on another primary ball handler who is only super effective with the ball in his hands the exact same way LeBron is. I don't think that he would have signed off on that. And it also seems like him and Anthony Davis are very close. So it seems like that was the moment of, I'm done playing this game. We need to look out for us. You aren't very committal. You're also 40. So we need to start shifting perspective here. And then when that trade happened, that's when it felt like the thing started to sour in Tinseltown, because now
For sure.
I didn't put this in the outline because it wasn't relevant at the time I was writing it. But now LeBron and Maverick Carter are investing in this new league for players to have a
Hmm.
career after the NBA, to be a rival of some sorts to the NBA. So I think LeBron has his hands in many pots right now, and I think it all started with the trade for Luca.
I like how you said that was like a definitive line in the sand, because as soon as I saw the trade come across my phone, I was like, Pelinka took control of his team finally. He took control of his team. It's no longer AD and Bron running the show, because a lot of the time before the trade, it was AD and Bron. We're looking towards AD and Bron to see where the direction of the team is going. Whereas now, I could look at Pelinka and, in years past, I did not trust him. Now, I'll let you cook a little bit. Let's see what you could do, what you got in the kitchen, Pelinka. But yeah, I've been ready since, I've probably said it since 2023 ish for him to, be out of there. We're on that yellow brick road. Let's say it that way. We're almost there.
Now that we're looking at this season preview for them with life after LeBron and the new moves that Rob Pelinka and the management team have been making, we have to start foundationally in the draft. At number 36, you all picked up Adu Thoreau. Without a departure that we'll get to later, I don't think that this would have been ultra important. I liked him in college. I think that he's super athletic, probably a top 5 athlete in the entire draft. And I think it would be really unfair to expect him to have this sort of real impact on this team that employs LeBron and Luca, this team that theoretically has championship aspirations. But with the departure of Dorian Finney-Smith, do you see him carving out a real role for himself in his first year?
So as it stands right now, I think, because we have to look at the roster, depth chart, things of that nature, Looking at our roster, I think as it stands, he would be behind Rui as the starter and then Jake LaRavia at the 3. And I don't know what JJ's plans are, but, there's times where we see Dalton connect at that 3 as well. He's not shy from doing that. But with that said, I think what we should expect is to see some appearances early season, where we see a lot more of those G League type of guys get some minutes, just so we could first off evaluate, see where he's at on an NBA level, where his strengths are, where his weaknesses are. Then from there, we go back to the drawing board, come up with a development plan, both in-house and for the G League, and have him more so as a two-way player, at least this year, because again, like you said, this is a team that theoretically has championship aspirations. It would not be fair to this guy to just throw him in the fire like that. This is a very raw guy. But even with all that said, he's still a player that I think can be a steal from this draft, a huge steal. You don't expect too much from him this year, but if he develops that shooting to match with his freakish athleticism, he's sound on the defensive end, he could be a player that, when, say, Ayton does show us a little something that we could bring him back, he could be a third guy to those two players, Luka and Ayton. Then we bring someone else in via free agency, draft, etc. That would become one of the bigger steals of the draft. We already know those second round steals, they're huge. One of the best players in the world is one of those second round steals. But I say that to all say, I think he could be, realistically, if he develops ideally, he could be a more athletic. See, now that I say that, I might go against it. I was going to say Jaden McDaniels, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think I would go, because I think his frame's a little bigger, I would go with a high motor, less skilled Jonathan Kuminga. If we could get a guy like that and then develop his shooting, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit for the guy. Like I said, talking to you before, I did a little research on him, and when I say freakish athlete, dude, the way he was jumping for some of these dunks, like he's getting the ball off of 2 feet and just under the free throw line, taking off 2-hand punch. Like that's ridiculous. You get the shooting right with that. And to that point, he has a great shooting touch. I'm one of those where a lot of times shooting is in the numbers in college, your free throw shooting, how efficient you are. However, what does your shot look like? What do your mechanics look like? And his mechanics are pretty good, to where it does give me reason to believe he could develop pretty well. But as it relates to this year, Let's see what he has, have him more as a 2A guy, and then get into that development lab with him.
You heard it here first. TrillBuckets thinks Adu Thoreau is going to be the next Nikola Jokic. Put it down in your books.
Maybe, you never know. But hey, that could also be, to be fair, that could be my Laker bias. I will say that as well. I will say that because I'm not a delusional Laker fan, but I'm going to admit to you when that bias comes out.
The Lakers did have new pieces to add to this team. We've touched on a couple of them already in Jake LaRavia. There was also DeAndre Ayton and former Defensive Player of the Year. This one hurts the most. I almost don't want to talk about it. Marcus Smart. I want to start off. We can touch on Jake LaRavia, and I think that I may have just had too many Lakers fans on my timelines. Maybe some of those delusional Laker fans that you were talking about. They were treating Jake LaRavia like the second coming of Kyle Korver in his ability to impact a game. And I think Jake LaRavia is a perfectly fine role player. I don't want to pretend like he's not. But he averaged 6 points a game last year. And not that those 6 points aren't going to be important, and not that those 6 points can't win you a game at some point. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not a whole lot of points. So while I think that this could be a really fine, tweak around the edges, this is not this big Laker win that I have seen this offseason.
I like Jake LaRavia. I saw him in person. I went to a couple Wizards games when he was with Memphis. Ja was out, but Memphis beat them by like 30-40. It was like a day after they beat Denver. The biggest issue with Jake that I've noticed, because we've all seen him have great games, his consistency. We need you to put that together. Let's say 3 out of the 4 nights we have a game, as opposed to 1 out of the 4 nights we have a game like you do in your career, which is why you average 6 points a game to this point. He can be a great guy and great role player, but second coming of Kyle Korver is absolutely insane. He's going to be more of a minus the playmaking Steve Blake kind of guy. And I'm more so speaking as a role player and what his role is, not necessarily his play specifically. Now, with that said, what will be even more valuable to the Lakers from him would be him hunkering down on the defensive end. I'm not worried about him as a 3-point shooter. If he's open, he'll knock it down. You got Luka who can get... Let me not say get guys open. You'll be open and you don't even realize you're open. The ball's in your hands and you're like, oh, maybe I should just shoot this. You got a guy like Bron who's gonna get you the pill. You're on the left side corner. Your man's on the baseline hash or the baseline block, and he's on help side. Bron will sling the pill over to you. You just gotta hit him. So I'm not too worried about that aspect to it. Again, consistency is key, but when you're playing with guys like Luka, Bron, etc., you have no choice but to be consistent. We've seen that from some of the guys that we've let go over the last couple years, D'Angelo Russell. So with that said, no, not the second coming of Kyle Korver, but can be very vital if and only if he's elite in his role and where we need him on a game-to-game basis. I think his role is going to change based on the game. One game, we might need you to be the spot-up guy that hits 4 or 5 threes. Another game, we might need you to, and I'm not saying lock up, but we need you to play better than average defense and contain this 3-point shooter because we don't want them to beat us. We'd rather the superstar try himself to beat us in the case of like, an Ant-Man or something like that. So a lot of people, let him eat, but don't let the rest eat. You're good. And that's something we would need from Jake. If we're playing Minnesota, make sure Jaden McDaniels is not getting to that high post jumper. Make sure he's not getting easy offensive boards to put back. And that's all hustle, that's heart. And those are the things that I think JJ, and that's the biggest key to it. JJ Redick can and will get out of these players. And if he doesn't, you got to get to packing. We're going to see what we're going to do at the trade deadline.
I think that the Lakers I think it's a good mix of additions and people that were already on the roster, but I think it's very varied because, as you said, if you want the maximum value out of Jake, it needs to be shooting a good clip, 40%, and being able to hold down defensively. I will say I think it is fortunate because if you don't get that from him, you have a guy who can do it in Marcus Smart. Even at this stage in his career, even at his quote-unquote advanced age, he can still legitimately guard 1 through 5. please spare my feelings in this, but what do you think him as a Laker is going to produce this year?
Production wise, vet leadership. We and that probably goes unspoken. That's a guy that brings the locker room together, makes sure the locker room stays together, and that's one of the biggest things that I love about Marcus Smart, because no matter who's in the locker room, we saw it in Boston. Yeah, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are the guys, but this is the leader. This is who we look to. This is the voice we're listening to. When he went to Memphis, same sort of thing. Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr., they're the guys, but we're looking to Marcus Smart as to what we're doing, how we're showing up, et cetera, et cetera. Production wise, I'm looking for the same old Marcus Smart. The what we've got in these last couple years. This is the portion of Marcus Smart that I want to see more so for the Lakers going forward. And I don't know if a lot of people have thought about this, but the one-to-one mentorship with Bronny James, that's going to be what Marcus Smart's mark is on this Lakers team. I say that mostly because, Bronny and the team has come out themselves and said, I need to figure out how to find my role and minutes through the defensive end. I need to find a role on the defensive end, embrace that role, and then the rest will come. Who better than Marcus Smart? The guy that the last guard DPOY since Gary Payton. The last guy we saw, I remember when people were like, he can't shoot. He came back the next year and was knocking it down for the Celtics. It was to the point where I was like, dang, I gotta stop being a hater, because you leave him open, it's going down. That hash wing shot for the longest, I was like, he's hit or miss. You never know what you'll get. Yeah, no, at this point you can't hand down, man down. That's what it is. But I say all that to say that's where I think his mark will be left with this Lakers team. It won't necessarily be so much on court, but more so those intangibles. We haven't really had a true leader. Like, yes, LeBron is a leader, but he more so leads by example. We've heard that from plenty of ex-players and current players. We needed a voice guy, and we haven't had that since, maybe 2020, maybe the bubble year, and maybe that voice guy was Rondo. But other than that, I couldn't tell you. And I think that Marcus Smart is the Rondo of the bubble year, essentially, but also with the added mentorship to Bronny, which I think will have Bronny just hitting another level this year, because last year, once we saw him get his legs under him, great basketball player, pretty good guy, pretty good basketball player.
You can check my socials. I've been high on Bronny the entire time. Not from some sort of, oh, he's LeBron kid, of course he's going to be good. Like, I watched the tape. He's not going to be this 6'8", 6'9" behemoth like his dad is. He's going to have an Alex Caruso career. He's going to have a Pat Bev career. He's going to be one of the hardest nosed defenders in the entire league for a decade, and that is a whole lot better of a career than 99% of the players who get the league shot do. So 100%. If that's all he gets out of it, so be it.
100%. To your point, I used to tell people all the time, because they would always say he went here, he played for this. Who do you think he was guarding when he was at Sierra Canyon? Who played? Yes, he went to Sierra Canyon with those guys. Who do you think was guarding them in practice? Who do you think he was guarding growing up? The GOAT. But I say all that to say, like, I'm in agreement with you. Like I've always said, Bronny has it. He has the intangibles. He has the athleticism. And a lot of people forget, he lost a year because of his heart issue. And coming back from that, just being on the court doesn't mean you're back. You got to get your legs under him. And we saw that when he had that G League game where I believe he had like 25, 30 points. That was at the point where I said, okay, Bronny got his legs under him. We see his confidence. And once we got to the Summer League, it was like, oh, he's not a second-year guy. He knows, like, I'm here, and I can speak a little bit more than I could before. And I love that from Bronny. Marcus Smart is the perfect guy to pair with him for that.
I think another player on this team that could probably benefit from this I'll throw a chair if I have to mentality that Marcus Smart brings, like you talked about, is your new starting center, DeAndre Ayton. And I know from your socials that you're pretty high on this move, but I do want to put an asterisk next to this. I think you're only high on it because of how bad your center room was last year and who you had to employ as a basketball player. Let it be known that TrillBuckets is not a fan of Jackson Hayes.
I'm so glad you said this. Thank you for that caveat because, and I even put that in my notes. I'm only really, really high on this move because we have not had center depth since the bubble year. I don't know what Pelinka was thinking letting JaVale walk. I don't know why Dwight was able to walk, but from the Winyan Gabriel, bro, don't get me started on that guy. Oh my God. And then I was mad when we picked up Jackson in the offseason. It didn't take any, with Lakers fans, it normally takes some games to kind of be like, oh, I'm off of this guy. No, Jackson, we signed him. I said, no, get him off my team now. And then when I realized we didn't have a backup big, I said, wow, he's our starting big. That sucks. And then even worse, and I don't know, you don't really know this so much because I don't post it too much on Twitter, but my friend's a Mavericks fan. I absolutely despise Maxi Kleber. I hate him. And when we got him, I said, oh my God, our front court is the worst. The absolute worst. Saddest part is I'd rather him play over Jackson. But getting back to the actual conversation, I also like the DeAndre Ayton pickup because of Luka, because of Bron. These are players that are going to, help Ayton with the smaller things. Move off of the ball. Stop just standing there. That's something we saw from Ayton religiously. If he's not involved, he's just standing there. That's one thing I hate just as a basketball player. Not even as a fan, as a basketball. If we go play pickup and you just standing there, brother, I say that to say, I think Ayton could be a very good player for us. I know you were in the outline, you were saying what he could do to be viewed as good in our eyes as Lakers fans. And it's funny because I was going to say, just give us 15 and 10. So I did my research. That's what he averages in his career. Then I thought further. I said, you know what? That 15 and 10 will be okay. But I don't think it'll be on-court production that makes us or moves us as it relates to Aiden. It's going to be seeing those intangibles. Do you have a positive attitude in low moments? Are you hustling? Is your toughness there? Are you doing the little things that we see a guy like Connect do? We saw a guy like Bronny do. We saw a guy like KCP do when he was with us. Those dirty things, especially as our big. You're the number one big. You're Luka's lob threat. Maybe even Luka's first option when it as it relates to when we're in action and stuff like that. Because of course Bron or AR would be his first option. But if we're going pick and roll, likely his first option more often than not. Are you gonna dive hard? Are you going to actually play like you care? Are you going to rebound? And this is from a betting standpoint. Forget the Laker fandom. Are you going to rebound? I'm sick of these 7-footers that can't get more than 6 rebounds. You need to be, I know you average 10 a game. You need to really be averaging 12, 13. There's no reason for it. And I think that's what will make Ayton revive himself, a little bit, redeem himself. That should be a better word for it, especially in Lakers' eyes, because once you have Lakers Nation, sky's the limit.
The attitude portion that you're talking about, I think, was the one thing that was missing in Portland because of all the reports that we heard about. His road was icy, so he couldn't make it to practice, but he didn't tell anybody. And it's those kind of things. I don't even think you can get away with it as a rookie, especially not being a former number 1 overall pick as a rookie. But to do it this deep in your career really raised some questions in my eyes. For your sake, I certainly hope that he is this, reliable this reliable dump off option for Luka. And I want to touch on Luka now because he did re-sign with the Lakers. For whatever reason, there was this question mark around that. He signed for a 3-year deal for as much money as he could possibly get. And I think that only proves that he definitely was going to sign the extension in Dallas. So again, the Lakers somehow get the heist of the century. What does a Luka-led Lakers team look like this year, and what would you do to change it for the years to come?
So as it relates to this year, I think we need to see, what he has around him and figure out what we need to do to strengthen and or, cut ties with the weaknesses. Of course, we've kind of touched on it a bit, but picking up a guy like Ayton, it helps with having a more reliable roller that can score better at the rim than a guy like Jackson Hayes, who has more touch, who doesn't have to dunk the ball every time to score. He could get you a little post hook. He could get you, I'm not going to say post fade, but a turnaround jumper here and there. You know what I'm saying? Those are some valuable things to have. But again, we need the attitude to be there, because if not, now we need to figure out what we need to do at the big position as it relates to, a guy like Vando. Where does he fit on this team? Is his offense getting better? Is he becoming a guy where the defense actually has to pay attention to him on offense? Because if not, we really need to look at moving him and getting a more 3-and-D guy that can do both things. I'd take a guy that is a little bit less than him defensively if he's that much better offensively. So this year specifically, I think is going to be a year of, okay, what's our strengths, what's our weaknesses, and how can we amplify and take advantage of our strengths more than our weaknesses, and who can we move to be able to get some long-term help in here with Luka, potentially Ayton if he works out. But it's a lot of question marks for me right now. Jake LaRavia, DeAndre Ayton, Gabe Vincent is pretty good. Some days I'm iffy on Rui. One day I love Rui, the next day I hate him. I genuinely think this is a year where there will be a team that they're always going to be competitive because of the talent we have, but we got to see what we have to know where we go forward. And to answer that second part with going forward, it all depends on guys like Ayton, guys like Rui, not necessarily Rui, he's pretty much locked up. Guys like Vando, LaRavia, and things like that. Because if they play well, then we're like, okay, we're actually able to stick with these guys, make sure the chemistry and camaraderie is tight, cohesive. And then from there, we'll be okay to go forward, especially if this is the last year we have LeBron, because that's so much cap space that opens up and makes us flexible to do what we want to do and need to do. But I think that's the key to it. Make sure you look at what you have for this year. Don't appeal to Bron so that he doesn't want to really come back. You have that cap space. Now you have flexibility, and you can figure out what direction you want to go into. But it's big that it's not championship or bust. That's the biggest portion to it. If you guys are looking at it as championship or bust, you're already failing Luka, in my opinion.
I look at this year almost the same way that I look at the Lakers in 2018 when LeBron showed up. There are like 10 players in the league that if you have one of them on your team, the perspective of the team now becomes, we have to make a championship run. The fact that the Lakers have two of them could cause a problem. But in 2018, that roster was LeBron and then Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, all of them fetuses, by the way. And because LeBron was there, it was, oh, well, this team's really young, but they can go because of LeBron. Like, to your point, because Luka is here now, and he's very clearly the horse that the Lakers are going to hitch their wagon to for the future, you do have to figure the rest of that roster out. And if I'm being honest, I don't think a big portion of this roster is here for the long term. I like guys like Vando for you. I think that he needs to be a better shooter, obviously, but even if he never becomes a better shooter, I think that his off-ball movement, especially his cutting toward the rim, is very good, and Luka can play off of that. I want DeAndre Ayton to be this 15 and 12 guy that he's supposed to be this building block next to Luka, because again, they are on the same timeline, the same draft class. There are pieces on this team to like, but I've seen a lot of the preseason mocks from ESPN and Bleacher Report or whatever. I've seen the Lakers as high as 5, and respectfully, for the company that we have, I don't see that, only because this is a feel it out year. Luka is the head of the table, and we have to see how to build after that. And again, to your point, once that $57 million is off the cap, off the books next year, this roster building thing gets a lot easier.
Way easier. Like there, and I'm not even the biggest free agent kind of guy, but that opens up a myriad of options in free agency. So much so that if a guy like LaRavia is not right, and of course I have to look at the free agency list. I'm not sure what that looks like right now, but shoot, you could even try to go, look for trades of someone similar, but their strengths and weaknesses are a little interchangeable. Now, with that said, top 5 is kind of that's crazy, That is very crazy. I don't want to get into that part yet where I have us at, but I'm in agreement with you. It's one of those years where what do we got? And then from there, we're gonna figure it out. Because in 2018, and that's why I feel like that's what it needs to be this year, as opposed to championship or bust, strictly because of the names on our roster. Because we've been through this before. 2018 was, they were kind of championship or bust. All the trades we had in those that 2 year span, that's championship or bust type of moves. And I don't really want to see that for this team. I want to see this team actually, stand still, understand we're not going for a championship this year, and go, okay, let's see what we have. Let's make the most money we can as a franchise with these tickets and stuff. But most importantly, see what we got so we could come back in the next 2 or 3 years.
Now, we do have one departure to talk about before we get to our season predictions, and we have to talk about Dorian Finney-Smith. It's hard to miss somebody who wasn't on the team that long, but I think that his impact as a player will be felt. I think it softened a little bit because you do have Marcus Smart on the team, but still being able to guard 1 through 4, shoot a really respectable clip from 3, I think that's going to hurt a little bit, especially because of the connection he already had with Luka.
Yep.
Who do you think on this team could step up into that role that is now left because of Dorian Finney-Smith's departure?
So with the DFS departure, now I will say that one did hurt a lot. But the only reason it hurt a lot is because I was a proponent to get him on the team way before we did get him. So when we got him, it was like, oh my God, finally. But we also got him with Luka, one of his favorite guys to play with. Pelinka, it's your fault he's gone. You was trying to do some underhanded stuff you shouldn't have did. That's neither here nor there. I don't think one guy will make up his role. I think it'll be a case of we're going to see 2 guys and their strengths combining to make up his role. Again, like you said, Marcus Smart softens that blow a little bit, and it helps to soften that blow because though he's not in that 6'8" frame where he could guard some of the better scorers in the league, to the ability of DFS, mostly because he's older, but he's also smaller than DFS as well. I think the shooting and the defensive aspect for that will be separated. DFS on the defensive end, I think that's going to more so be the Vando type. Vando's going to fill in that role even more because a lot of times we saw Vando help side. He's help side. When he does help, gets a block, get a rebound, let's get out on the break. But I want to see Vando expand his role more, especially if you're not going to be as effective on the offensive end. I want to see you pick up point of attack. I want to see you guard some of the better ball handlers and be on ball defending in a way that you're taking over that DFS role the way he guarded the point of attack. Now on the offensive end for DFS and his the role that he had, I think that's going to be a mixture of LaRavia and Dalton Knecht, both of which we need to find some consistency from. But with Dalton, out of anyone on the roster, I believe he could fill that, like by himself, that DFS role wholly if he's consistent from start of year to the end of the year. Because we saw games where he shot very well. We saw games where he's defended very well. But we've also saw games where he did both of those things awful, just terrible. So with that said, continue to develop Dalton the way that you have. You could be that next DFS in the next year or 2. But as it stands for this year, it's going to be a mixture of LaRavia and Vando for me. And that extra oomph to get it to that DFS level would be from Marcus Smart. I think it was a case where Pelinka was like, we're losing a very valuable guy, but we got to make up for that in depth. And I think I can't say he's done it yet because we got to see these guys actually play what they produce and stuff. But he didn't do a terrible job. This is a roster that I wouldn't expect from Pelinka. I'll put it that way.
So when we look at this season as an overview, JJ Redick is extended. Last year, rookie head coach dealing with a massive trade in the middle of the year, still going 50-32, hell of a run. You have Luka for the immediate future. A huge pace, this relic of the past that I was talking about is going to depart potentially at this year. So when we're looking at all these things, what is your realistic expectation for the team this year?
I'm a weird guy. I say that because I know a lot of, as NBA YouTube guys, we use analytics to support what we say. But because I've played basketball, I can't lie to you. A lot of stuff goes off of feeling and then I confirm it with the stats later. That's not to say I'm going to sit in that when I'm presented with fact, but that's neither here nor there. I say that to say having Bron, Luka, Austin Reeves, and Marcus Smart, to me, that should automatically get you 30 to 35 wins. That's just base level right there. Now, from there, that's where the depth comes in. The rest of those games, that random game on a Tuesday, Thursday night where Luka might not be as on as he normally is, but Gabe Vincent got it, Don Connect got it, or, Ayton got it. And I think there's going to be a few games where we pull those kind of games through, which would put me about to 40, 42. But then once I start to get to the 45 to 50 level, I couldn't see myself justifying it. I say that mostly because, the West is often separated by a game or two, but and ESPN wasn't working when I was trying to do this earlier, so I had to go to the 2023 season. But the 2023 year, the top 4 all won 50 games. And I was like, I cannot justify the Lakers winning that many games and being that high because top 5 just doesn't seem realistic to me. A lot because we don't have a set culture. We don't have a set identity. Even me as a Lakers fan, I don't know what we're going to look like this year. So as it stands and what I put for our win total rather, I think we're going to be comfortably around that 46 to 50, or sorry, 46 is high. 43 to 46 win total. We're going to be playing, I don't want to say fringe because fringe is more so the 9-10 to me, but I think we'll be that 6-7-8 kind of, or 6-7-8 area in the bracket. Of course, it's the West, so we could drop just by losing one game. But as it relates to skill, this is a team that's a 6-7-8 kind of seeded team to me. And depending on who their matchup is, may be able to get hot and do some things, or first round exit. kind of like this year, honestly, to me. Depending on who we got first round, we could have gone second, third round. Depending on who we get first round, we could be out. So it'll be one of those teams to me this year. We got to manage the squad depth really, really wisely because we do also have guys that have gotten injured in the past. Whether it's knick-knack injuries, whether it's, this guy's out 2 months. So we've seen that. But I also want to see how LeBron responds to it being Luka's team. Is he okay with it? Are they going to clash on the court? Because if they do, you might have potential to be even lower than that 6-7 range.
One last question before we get to what I've been calling a content corner. I need a definitive answer from you. Is this the last year we see LeBron in a Laker jersey?
Yes. And I think so because, again, that report I spoke to, the only reason he signed or he accepted that player option was because it was clear we didn't want to extend him. And the only way I think we'll extend him is possibly a 1+1, but he's made it clear he doesn't want a 1+1 to this point. So, with that said, I think yes. LeBron will no longer be a Laker after this basketball season. And if Pelinka got the balls, he'll trade him in the trade.
I saw what you did to Anthony Davis.
That would be a move of this. Yeah. That would be the move of the century, bro.
Well, now I'd like to move on to what I have been calling the content corner. I'm bringing all these content creators on for a lot of reasons, really. Mostly, I like to yap. I like to kindle friendships and mutual ships. I made a lot of really cool friends doing through this. I'm glad that we're able to call each other friends and mutuals, but I also want to pick your brain. I think, at any level, whether you're starting from 0 subscribers or you have 100,000, I think that this content creation race is very difficult. So because of that, I want to know your why. What was the starting point for you on this content creation journey?
Man, so the starting point, well, I guess I would say the first thing that even intrigued me, and this is, I don't know, Chris Smooth. I didn't even watch YouTube. I have my best friend when I lived in California. His name was Devin. Shout out to you, bro. He put me onto Chris Smooth. He was more so a gamer more than I was. I actually, I was the one playing sports. He was more so the gamer. He put me on to gaming. That's when we started watching COD games. We were watching him play 2K. And Chris Smooth was the one that made me like, no, I want to do this. This is really cool because once I did start playing video games, I'm pretty good at them. Um, and then even further, like I do have a side to me that's really goofy that I know is like people would really gravitate to. So when I was 16, I tried to start a gaming channel. Now that gaming channel wasn't that great because I didn't have any experience with editing, graphics, any of that. It's funny though because we made some great content. Like in hindsight, I didn't know it then, but now like we got a guy to put his mom on the mic in the PlayStation party, and we trolled her, bro. It was the best content ever, and I wish I knew it was great then because I would have just kept on it. Then I kind of just I took time off of it, finished school, went to college, did that thing. And then I finally was playing the game again. I was playing 2K pretty much every day. And I was like, why am I going to play this if I'm not doing anything with it? This is right before, I enrolled in college. My mom's on me. You guys know how that goes. And then finally, I enrolled in school. And this is my advice for a lot of people because without this, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the setup I have. I wouldn't have this quality. None of that. When you go to school, use your financial aid loans, whatever you get, to help you on the outside. You don't always need to use that for the school stuff. I got my school stuff and still had an extra money over. That's how I got my PC. That's how I got set up everything to where I finally said during COVID, let's sit down and learn this. Made a gaming channel. I was doing that for a while till it kind of was like gaming. I don't like gaming because I feel like it's a job. I have to record. Let me not do this. We transitioned to TrillBuckets. I released my first playoff prediction video. I believe it was the 2022 season. And I got the most views on that video than I did on any other gaming video the past 2 years. And I said, that's the one. Especially because basketball has always been my first love. I tell people all the time, I've played basketball since before I was born. My mom was playing college basketball with me in her stomach. So like, I'm destined for the basketball thing in some type of way, shape, or form. Yeah, overall, it was really Chris Smooth, and watching how people talked about him just at school and things like that. It was really cool to see that because who doesn't like someone watching them play the game? And then it got to a point where I was like, I'm ready to talk. I want to talk basketball with more people outside the people I just talked basketball with, because as a lot of us know, there's only probably like 3 or 4 IRLs that know the game as deep as you. And then outside of that, it's a lot of casuals you will be tying to and a lot of headaches you will have.
Now, of course, we paid respects to the 2K GOAT and Chris Smooth. Were there other content creators for you growing up, or maybe even now, that you're in this space that you look up to or they inspire you in any sort of way?
Trying to think, because as I started to upload a little bit more, I watched a lot less. And that's more so a case of just me, like, I'm a perfectionist. So when I watch other videos, I'm like meticulously watching. I'm like, oh, that editing, they messed up a cut. They messed up and I don't like doing that. But as it relates to now, most of the people that I watch are guys like, this is funny because I'm old, but Jinxie, I absolutely love Jinxie. I don't know what it is. Great creator, but watching Jinxie taught me how, like, the SEO side of it, how to get yourself out there, be annoying with your face. And I open TikTok, I see 17 TikToks of him out of all the TikToks that I just watched. Other smaller creators also, like, I really, I don't want to say look up to, but I admire, like our friend Jacob Blocks. Love his preview series. He's been doing it for 3-4 years now. Absolutely amazing, but it's dope because he's stuck with it all this time. Even with you, I remember, I think you tweeted, I don't remember when you tweeted, but you basically tweeted something about your setup or whatever, and you were saying how, more quality videos are coming out. I instantly saw you on TikTok more and more and more and more, and I was like, he was true to his word, and I love that because, in a lot of ways, like you said to intro, I've slowed down myself, and it wasn't necessarily this side of it, it was more so this part of it. and seeing you guys be able to just keep going, keep churning, me knowing, I know you go through stuff in life. It's life. There's no way you don't. But still seeing you guys upload, it's amazing to see. And I must say that because I watch you guys more than I watch big creators. I don't watch Low. I don't watch what's the Thunder guy? I don't watch him. I watch a little Hoop Venue because we were mutuals on Twitter, but after a while I stopped because it was redundant. I mostly watch my mutuals, my guys. Oh, I almost forgot a guy. My guy Shad, the drop step. I'm not sure if you familiar, Nuggets fan.
Yeah.
Great guy, bro.
Yeah. We actually just had him for the Nuggets episode that dropped a couple days ago.
Oh yeah, I actually did. Yeah. I did see that. I'm gonna tap in with you when I'm done. But yeah, he's one of my biggest. Like, it's almost we're the same age, and I don't necessarily want to say big brother, but like seeing his graphics, seeing his editing, seeing how smooth he is with his transitions, staying on topic, and even just being in because we're in Who Has Hoops together and stuff like that, and being able to pick his brain. Just as a human, he's a great person. So like I wish the world for his YouTube channel success and everything. But when it comes down to looking for help, asking questions, whatever the case is, or even advice, he's the one person that has always had an answer or looked for an answer if there wasn't an answer. And I will say in a lot of ways, he's part of the reason TrillBuckets is still a YouTube channel now. Now I am going to be coming back, but there has been times where I've thought about deleting, and he was really like, bro, you got too much to give the culture, the community. And I agree with him, but without him saying that, I don't know if I'd be here right now, honestly.
Shameless plugs for episodes that I've already done. Check out the Jacob Locke's New York Knicks episode. I think he was the first real content creator I brought on. The first episode I did with my buddy Riley for the Timberwolves. He's not a content creator, but I wanted to do that one first. I said it in that video. Riley's sort of responsible for this entire thing, so it felt disingenuous to not have him be the first guest that I had on. And then with the Dropstep Network, like you said, truly authentic. His graphics are great. I can tell that the love is baked into his videos. And I this isn't any secret. I told this to him in the video. What you said of the big brother, I kind of look at it that way. He seems like this overarching, like, grandfatherly figure to the space that we're in when it comes to the Who Has Hoops community. And for those smaller creators like we can look at someone like him and go, wow, that's like something to shoot towards. And it's only a matter of time before he takes off.
Yep.
And as long as we're all hyping each other up, we're all watching each other's stuff, it's only a matter of time before we take off.
You couldn't have said it. You said it 10,000 times better than I could have ever said it. Everything you said and more.
As I said before, we are both aspiring content creators. If someone were to come up to you, say they have 10 subscribers on YouTube, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Dang, it has to be one? Just one?
No Mount Rushmore here. Just one.
Okay, I'd probably say listen to yourself. A lot of the times when I've had the breaks I've had, or I wasn't sure about a video, it's because I asked someone else their opinion on it, or I asked someone else where I should go with the direction of it. And a lot of times those people don't know what it takes. They don't know the preparation, and they don't know the editing process, the production process to it. So when they do present an idea, it's like, yeah, that sounds great, but when you go to actually do it, you're like, how do I make this idea come to fruition? Especially because it wasn't your idea, so you don't have your own imagination wrapped around that idea. In a lot of ways, this will stop you from ever saying, I'm not going to upload that video, I'm not going to put this out, because you should put everything out. Whether you like it, whether you think it's not good, whatever the case is, put it out, because someone out there likes it. And I don't think this is a second one. I think this goes with the same point. But randoms are going to get you rich, not your family. Don't send videos to them. I mean, you can send videos to them, but those aren't the people that are going to get you where you need to go. Those aren't the people that are going to get you your watch time. Those aren't the people that are going to get you your likes, subs, etc., etc. So with that said, push out what you love, push out what you're proud of, and your fan base is gonna find you. You don't have to find them, they will find you. And that's been a testament to any and every creator that has grown, at least as far as I've seen. Same with Speed. His fan base found him. Everyone else, their fan base found them, but it took them putting out what they believe in over and over and over and over again, and listening to this up here and not the outside noise. So that's what I would give.
I want to add on to that. Obviously, the randoms will help like cultivate your fandom and your fan base and your community. There are particular parameters. I know it's there on TikTok. I know it's there on YouTube. I don't know about Instagram or any other platform like that. There is a setting on at least YouTube and TikTok that when you upload, it sends a push notification on YouTube, and it'll automatically suggest the videos on TikTok to the people who you are mutuals with. Turn that shit off. Turn it off. Because what happens is either they don't click on the video right away, so it tells the algorithm they're not interested in it, or it'll pop up on TikTok, they'll like it and then scroll, and the likes are cool. It's a good barometer of what you need to do as a content creator, but it's the watch time that increases the views. So turn that shit off. It'll get pushed out to random people instead of your mutuals, and then that's when you start to see the success. I turned that off about a year ago, and I have doubled my following on all platforms since I turned it off. So if you can find that setting somewhere, turn that shit off.
You just put me onto a setting. I'm gonna look into that, because I've had videos where I'm like, nah, this is a video that I know for a fact, based on the hashtags, based on what I said, how I said, where I'm like, it hit a cap at some point, and I don't know why, but that's a great point. And why? Because like I had friends that are like, why'd you stop sending me links? Because I don't know that you're watching a good amount of the video. A lot of times you guys talk to me about the video, you tell me about something that was in the first 2 minutes, and don't, or you'll have a opinion on the first 2 minutes, and I'll be like, I answered that like 5 minutes later in the video, brother. Like, but I say that to say, yes, just push out your content and have people flock, as opposed to you give your content to the, the numbers and the Instagram, your personal Instagram and stuff like that, because a lot of times people will scroll. A lot of people just do this as they're on their phone, not even on purpose. It just happens. So I'm gonna look into that setting, because that's a good one. I'm trying to get back into TikTok more too, so I'm gonna look into that.
One last question before we transition to my favorite, undeniably my favorite part of these entire videos. You said you're going to come back for the upcoming season. What are your content creation goals, if you have any?
With coming back, so a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people won't really know because it'll be faceless, but I have a gaming channel that I'm doing as well. So I want to kind of incorporate the two, in a sense of, because I'm doing 2K on one, I'm doing IRL basketball on the other. We can do some, I want to do some type of, what if videos, including both. But as it relates to the channel itself, I want to grow it, and I know I can grow it to gaining at minimum 3,500 subs. I talk about it a lot with some of the people closer to me, but I went from about 400 or 500 subs to 1,300 where I am now in the course of like 5 months. And that was literally just from, upload every other day. If you're not uploading, put out a short, whether that's on TikTok, Reels, and YouTube. That way you have something out. And I know I could do that, but even further, I want to have a video that hits 10,000 views, because I've never had that. I want to have a video that, hits the algorithm and you're gaining 500, 400 plus subscribers from it. Those are the kinds of goals that I have for my channel now, because I've seen the growth aspect to it, to where, I put out a video, I'm gaining 4, 5, 6, 7 subs each video. Now I want to see it to the point where these people are coming back. These people are watching me. These people are continuing to show love and tell me, oh, I remember when I was watching this video, that video, whatever, you were saying this, look what happened now. Or what you said before, the J-Dub thing. I made a video calling J-Dub a star like 2.5 years ago. That was one, I think that's still my most popular video, but I want to keep doing videos like that. Because this past year I was doing a lot of analytic hoop venue type of videos, and wasn't as fun for me. It was, I don't know why, but it wasn't as fun. So just getting back into the more conversation based videos, let's talk basketball, let's barbershop talk kind of videos, get back to, comfortability. So that's the main thing. Not too worried about the numbers aside from hitting that 3,500 and getting a 10K plus view video. The rest is just making sure right here stays healthy, intact, and we continue to push out videos.
Well, I certainly hope for the best for you for this upcoming season. Really happy to have you on. Glad you said yes. We've been mutuals for a very long time, so I was glad that we were able to finally hash this out and do something. Before I get you out of here, my favorite part of the videos, for those watching at home, I give all of our guests an outline. That way the conversation can flow correctly and we won't be misquoted or misspeak or anything. This last section here, the lightning round, the rapid fire, 5 questions, I keep to myself just to have a little bit of fun. You don't have to give an elaborate answer if you don't want to. But 5 questions. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Question number 1. Favorite Lakers 2K cheat code player?
Jordan Farmar. No question about it. In that 2010 year, 2010 and 2K9, those are the years where KG was on the cover, and then the next year Kobe was on the cover. Jordan Farmar was a problem. A lot of people didn't use him, so they wouldn't know any better. They talk about, what's the guy from the Knicks that was, I forget who they had on 2K. That was crazy. They talk about not Amon Shumpert, J.R. Smith when he was on the Nuggets, and all these other guys. Jordan Farmar was a problem, ladies and gentlemen. The dude couldn't not do anything. He get a steal, he could shoot it, he could dunk it. His playmaking, great. I don't know what it was, but that dude was the perfect role player, like the absolute perfect role player, at least as it relates to 2K. Love him as a player, but 2K, that guy was a problem.
Superstar you'd love to pair with Luka?
Superstar? It's a good one.
Of course, it's Laker Town, baby. We have to have 2 stars here.
That's a fact. Shoot, maybe even 3. You never know. I think the obvious answer would be Jokic, so I don't want to go there. I think that would be too obvious of an answer. Giannis. That would be a dream pairing. Giannis and Luka. Oh my goodness. And then if we got that 3rd star, he technically isn't a star, but you get Giannis, Luka, and Zubats. I need it. Or maybe not Zubats. We need a big that can shoot a 3. But still, I need it. Make it happen, Pelinka.
We've talked about it a little bit throughout this entire episode. You are a 2K fan. So in that vein, 2K meta or technique that you wish was never in the game?
Ooh, that's a good one. Because I've been playing 2K since 2K6 when Shaq was... No, 2K5 since Ben Wallace is on the cover. Nothing will come close to... And it's almost brought back this year. The side-to-side, into the screen, fade. It's brought back this year, but if I'm not mistaken, it was super prominent in 22 and 23, or 21 and 22, one of the two. It might have even been prominent in 2021. But I say this to say, I remember they did what they had to do to take it out. But because so many people were complaining about dribbling and stuff like that this year, the dribbling, in my opinion, is like a hybrid between 17 and 21. So much so that the dribble fade is ridiculous this year. Now, I know how to guard it. And I say that because 2K guys, when you complain about something, it's you automatically suck. No. It's just cheap. It's terrible. If you're going on a horn, if it's a horn set up top and you're just momentuming back and forth, waiting for me to hit the screen or get a ankle breaker animation just to run away and shoot a fade, bro, we're not playing basketball. Get me off of this game now. Y'all, 2K, please make a new version of NBA Street. And not NBA Playgrounds, not that cartoon. No, we need a real NBA Street so people could do that kind of stuff because, yeah, this momentum dribble to a fade about to explode my brain.
Another 2K centric question. If TrillBuckets was in 2K, what Hall of Fame badge would you have?
When's the last time you played 2K?
The last time religiously 2K23, but I did play 25 during NBA Cup week when it was dropped down to like $10. I thought, yeah, I'll spend $10 on the game.
Well, I only asked because we now have legend badges, so I was gonna
Ooh,
see if you
okay.
want me to,
Update it.
because yeah, yep. So because I like to play 2K like how I play in real life. I'm a pass first, but if we're losing, I'm taking over. Get out of my way. I'm about to get a bucket. So with that in mind, I think I would go with Shifty Shooter because and for those that don't know, it's the antithesis to set shot specialist. Any moving jumper, it helps. I'm the kind of guy where I like to sidestep, I like to step back, I like to snatch back, I like to hezzy pull, and something like Shifty Shooter is something that it helps you with that. I'm one of those that I'll create contact strictly to kind of push you off of me. Yes, I get a lot of push off accusations. It's not a push off if my arm's not extended, but that's what helps me get that Shifty Shooter so we can shoot that fade. That midi fade is my bread and butter.
And then the last one I have for you today, will Bronny James ever be an all-star?
I think he has 2-time all-star in his aspiration. I think that could be a possibility. Now, I will admit, I don't think it'll be I think he'll be a replacement all-star. I don't think he'll be a voted in kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? But I think he could sneak in there, especially if that defense gets to the level of that Marcus Smart that we talked about, potential DPOY guy at the guard. You could do it, especially because I think his offense has a lot more potential than Marcus Smart's really did, in my opinion. So we could see it. Now, it won't be a 5, 6, 7-time all-star. No. I think 2 is his max.
2 is really respectable. That's a whole lot more than a bunch of people get. So if he gets 2, call that a win.
No, for sure. And that's one thing people don't think about. They always think about the stars and stuff like that. It's like, no, think about the common guys. That's successful. That's a great career. You play 8 years, average 15 points, 5 assists, and you don't really do much of anything else. You had a pretty good basketball career.
Again, like I said, really appreciate you coming on. Think it's going to be a great episode. In the description, going to be all your social links, TikTok, Twitch. Of course, you're a budding superstar over there on Twitch, Instagram. Let everybody know where you're at, where to find you.
So if you're looking for me as it relates to my basketball channel, TrillBuckets pretty much on everything. The only thing is my Twitter account got taken, so we don't have Twitter right now. But that's okay, because we know NBA Twitter is not a great place to be. So, but TrillBuckets everywhere. That's TikTok, Instagram. If you want to follow me personally, because I do not mind, my personal Instagram is Lydey, Lydeyy. And as it relates to my gaming channels, it is not quite made yet, but be on the lookout for the same name as my personal Instagram, Lydey, because that is my middle name, and we're going to go with that as my gaming moniker. So, TrillBuckets, and for personal account, Lydey.
I'm super excited for all the content you're going to give us in the upcoming years. Obviously, everybody who's watching this, go into the description, so show them some love. That's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for TrillBuckets. Be kind. Tell somebody you love them. And we'll see you in the next one.
Barely scraping by. Trying to stop puffing. I'm trying to be one of the greats.